When you're shopping for a premium dashcam, it's easy to get overwhelmed. There are so many options out there claiming to offer the best image quality, the best night vision, or the most features. But a good dashcam isn't just about recording in high resolution. It also needs to be reliable, easy to use, and something you can trust every time you get behind the wheel. And today we're checking out one that promises to do exactly that. So today we've got the VIOFO A229 Pro. This is a dual-channel dashcam that records in 4K up front and 2K in the rear. One of the biggest highlights right away is that VIOFO is using Sony Starvis 2 image sensors on both cameras. The front camera records in 4K HDR, and if we take a quick look around the box, there's actually a lot of stuff listed here. We've got 4K Ultra HD recording, Sony Starvis 2 sensors, built-in Wi-Fi, HDR support, voice control, a 2.4-inch HD display, parking mode, GPS, and honestly, there's a pretty long list of features packed into this thing. So with that out of the way, let's open it up and see exactly what comes inside. All right, let's get into the box. Wow, this thing really doesn't want to open. There we go. Right on top, we've got the rear camera. This is the 2K rear unit. Pretty small and compact, which is exactly what you'd expect for a rear camera. Next up, we've got the main attraction. This is the VIOFO A229 Pro itself, and honestly, first impressions are pretty good. It looks clean, it feels well built, and the camera module itself can rotate and tilt up to about 90 degrees, which should make installation a lot easier depending on the angle of your windshield. Looks like VIOFO also includes a CPL filter in the box, which is always nice because that's something you usually end up buying separately. The camera is built around Sony Starvis 2 technology, and that's one of the main reasons so many people are interested in this dashcam. Taking a look around the body, we've got ventilation openings here, more vents on the side, a USB-C port for connecting the rear camera, and over here we've got the micro SD card slot. There's also another connection for an optional interior camera if you ever decide to upgrade to the 3-channel version later on. We don't have that module with us today, but it's good to know the option is there. And right here is the USB-C power input for the main camera. So that's the camera itself. Now let's see what else comes in the box. Here's the power cable, and yeah, this thing is seriously long, which is actually what we want because it'll make routing the cable through the vehicle a whole lot easier. We've also got the usual paperwork, customer support information, electrostatic stickers, and of course, the user manual. A manual is a manual, so we'll just leave that for now. There's another cable included here as well, and this one is meant for the optional interior camera setup. We also get the cigarette lighter power adapter if you don't plan on hardwiring the camera. And finally, we've got the CPL filter. Let's go ahead and install that. There are small alignment marks on both the filter and the camera. Just line those up, slide it into place, and that's it. Now we can peel off the protective film. Always satisfying. And just like that, the CPL filter is installed. One thing we noticed is that the mounting is completely detachable. So once you've mounted it to the windshield, you can simply slide the camera off whenever you want to remove it. That's actually a pretty convenient design. Looking at the mounting system, it's pretty straightforward. The power cable plugs into this side, and the rear camera connects right over here. Now let's get everything connected and power it on. All right. There we go. The VIOFO interface boots up almost immediately. We can already see that the rear camera has been detected successfully. The rear camera is recording in 2K, while the front camera is recording in full 4K. Everything seems to be working exactly the way it should. So once everything was connected, we started exploring the VIOFO interface. We stopped the recording for a moment and jumped into the menu system to see what kind of settings we had to work with. Inside the menu, we found video settings, system settings, and the file list. Naturally, we started with the video settings menu. Looking at the resolution options, there were quite a few available. We could record in 4K at 30 frames per second on the front, with 2K at 30 frames per second on the rear. There was also a 21:9 recording option, along with several lower resolution combinations that went all the way down to dual 1080p recording. For our testing though, we left it at the full 4K front and 2K rear, because that's really what this camera is built for. Next, we had the bitrate settings. We could choose between normal, high, and maximum. Personally, we usually leave it on normal, since it offers a nice balance between image quality and storage consumption. Unless you're trying to squeeze out every last bit of detail, normal is more than enough for everyday driving. Scrolling down, we found loop recording, audio recording, exposure adjustments, HDR settings, along with a bunch of other recording options. Now, this is where something a little unexpected happened. While we were going through the menus, the camera suddenly powered off. Then it happened again, and then one more time. At first, we honestly thought something might be wrong with the dashcam itself, but after doing a little troubleshooting, we figured out that the camera wasn't the problem at all. We had been powering it with a random third-party USB-C cable. As soon as we switched over to the original VIOFO cable that came inside the box, everything started working perfectly. The camera powered on normally, stayed connected, and continued recording without shutting off again. So if you're setting this up yourself, we definitely recommend using the included VIOFO cable. At least in our testing, it was noticeably more reliable than the third-party cable we tried first. Once that was sorted out, we jumped back into the video settings menu. From here, we could adjust the exposure value separately for the front camera, rear camera, and even the optional interior camera if you have the 3-channel setup. We also found G-sensor controls, timestamp settings, time-lapse recording, HDR options, image rotation, parking recording settings, and even custom text overlays. One thing that's worth pointing out is that this camera is part of a larger system. Since we're reviewing the dual-channel version today, we've only got the front and rear cameras connected. But if you ever decide to upgrade, VIOFO also offers an interior camera that plugs into the extra port on the side of the main unit, turning it into a full 3-channel system. We also came across options for license plate information, choosing the live view source, customizing the screen layout, and enabling privacy mode. After finishing up there, we moved over to the system settings menu. Here, you'll find options for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, time zone, time format, daylight saving adjustments, GPS settings, screensaver options, language selection, and plenty of other system controls. For Wi-Fi, you can switch between 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. We immediately changed it over to 5 GHz because we wanted the fastest transfer speeds we could get. Voice notifications are available as well. We turned them on just to see how they sounded, and honestly, the default volume was much louder than we expected. It'll definitely grab your attention, but for us it was a little too much. Thankfully, you can adjust the volume, so we turned it down quite a bit and it became much nicer to live with. GPS settings are easy to find, speed units can be customized, and overall the menu system is laid out well enough that we never really felt like we needed to keep checking the user manual. After that, we headed over to the file list. This is where he can review all of your recordings directly on the dashcam without even touching your phone. Every video is organized neatly and easy to browse. We could scroll through our recordings, play them back, and review everything right on the built-in display. Your photos are stored here too, although we didn't end up taking many pictures during our testing. One thing we really appreciate is that if you're parked somewhere and need to quickly check a recording, you can do everything directly from the camera itself. It might seem like a small feature, but it's one of those little conveniences that becomes surprisingly useful the longer you own the dashcam. Now, let's connect the app and see what the experience is like from the phone. As soon as we connected over Wi-Fi, the dual camera system showed up right away. From here, we could switch between the cameras whenever we wanted. If we wanted to only view the front camera, we could do that. If we wanted to switch over to the rear camera, that was just as easy. And of course, we could also keep both camera feeds on the screen at the same time. Honestly, that's one thing we really like about this app. It makes checking both cameras incredibly simple without having to interact with the dashcam itself. Inside the live view section, we could immediately access all the footage we'd recorded. Everything was nicely organized into separate categories, including normal recordings, locked recordings, parking recordings, and images. Since we hadn't actually tested the parking mode yet, there weren't any parking clips available. But all of our regular recordings and photos were already there and easy to browse. Next, we wanted to see how fast the wireless file transfers actually were. So we selected one of the recorded videos and started downloading it. And honestly, the transfer speed was impressive. The file we picked was somewhere around 300 megabytes, and it downloaded surprisingly fast. The progress bar was moving much quicker than we expected. For a file that size, it didn't even take a full minute. That's one of the biggest advantages of using the 5 GHz Wi-Fi connection. Compared to a lot of the dash cams we've reviewed in the past, transferring footage from this one feels noticeably quicker and a whole lot less frustrating. Plenty of dashcams advertise Wi-Fi, but then you end up sitting there waiting forever for a single clip to finish transferring. Thankfully, that wasn't the case here. Now yes, while reviewing the footage, we could obviously see reflections from our studio lights, tripods, and everything else around the room, but honestly, that's completely normal. When we're evaluating dashcam footage, we're paying attention to things like image quality, sharpness, dynamic range, and how well the camera holds on to detail. A few reflections while previewing footage indoors really aren't something we're concerned about. After testing the download speeds, we went back into the app settings, and this is where things get even better. Pretty much every setting that's available directly on the dashcam can also be adjusted right from the app. We could change the video resolution, adjust the loop recording duration, turn audio recording on or off, adjust the G-sensor sensitivity, modify the exposure values, access the system settings, control both the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth functions, change the time zone and date format, adjust the parking mode settings, configure the parking G-sensor sensitivity, manage the GPS options, control the HDR settings, rotate the image. Basically, if it's something you can change on the dashcam itself, there's a very good chance you can also change it from the app. And honestly, that's a pretty big deal. Once you've installed the camera on your windshield, nobody wants to keep reaching up there every time they need to change a setting. Being able to handle everything from your phone just makes the whole experience much more convenient. We also tried out a few more features inside the app. We captured snapshots directly from the live view, started and stopped recordings remotely, switched back and forth between the front and rear cameras. Everything responded quickly, and throughout our testing, we really didn't notice any significant delays. Overall, after spending some time with it, we'd say the software experience is easily one of the strongest parts of the VIOFO A229 Pro. The camera delivers exactly the kind of image quality you'd expect from a premium dual-channel dashcam, but the app makes it using it day-to-day even more enjoyable. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're looking for in a dashcam: good video quality, reliable recording, fast wireless transfers, and controls that make life easier instead of more complicated. And honestly, that's exactly what the VIOFO A229 Pro brings to the table. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.